Hi, I'm Dan Fazio with Vetrepreneur, and today we're talking with Lee Ann Droog, a former Army medic who today is the owner of the Mr. Electric franchise. Welcome, Lee.
Wow, so glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me, Dan.
Okay, the first thing I have to ask you, are you an electrician?
I am not an electrician, so I was able to get into the franchise not being an electrician, but I am surrounded by very qualified electricians, so I'm very fortunate that way.
Yeah, what attracted you to that? Why not plumbing, or you come from a medical background, why not something medical related?
Absolutely. So great question. My husband actually has a very successful home repair and paint business. He's owned for about 14 years now, and he saw the opportunity and he happened to see a neighborly truck driving in the area. We live in the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area. And he said, I wonder what that is. He thought it was a lead generation opportunity for him from a marketing standpoint. And so when he investigated, he was like, this neighborly group, it sounds like they have some pretty good values aligned with ours. It'd be interesting to see if there's an opportunity for us. Where is the biggest opportunity for my business? And that's with licensed electricians. Definitely the trades are an area that are underserved right now, I think for a lot of reasons. Don't see a lot of people going into the trades. And the unfortunate piece of it is that our qualified electricians are actually aging out of the profession. So really looking to not only expand the services so we can provide those for our customers, but also encourage new upcoming potential electricians to get into the field.
Well, that makes sense. Well, how do you deal with the labor shortage? I mean, as you said, there's obviously a labor shortage across the board, but in particular with skilled tradesmen.
Yeah, absolutely. So number one, setting the example by we have to have a license associated with our business. Number two, hiring folks to understand what their true personal and professional requirements and needs are. So if they want to advance themselves, supporting them for continuing education or education of some sort. And then we are an approved apprenticeship program for the state of North Carolina. So I'm very proud of that as well.
So tell us what's the day in the life of a Mr. Electric franchise owner like?
Yeah.
Is there such a thing as a typical day?
No, there's really not such a thing a typical day, but what I would say is that there's certain things that you do need to do on a daily basis or a regular basis in order to ensure that you are successful. And I think the biggest thing, and this applies to whether you're in Mr. Electric or any small business owner, you really need to know your numbers. And you need to look at your numbers on a regular basis. You need to know how much you're bringing in and what you're spending, and whether or not your investments are actually worth it and whether they're paying off. So your KPIs or key performance indicators are critical to the success of your business.
Okay, so let's rewind a little bit so we can get more of your story. Tell us where did you grow up and when and why did you enlist in the Army?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thank you so much for asking. So I actually am what has been affectionately known as an Army brat. So my dad was in the military. He served in Vietnam in World War II and in Korea, and then he met my mother when he was stationed in Korea. I was actually born in Korea during his service, and we traveled quite a bit. But I call Nashua, New Hampshire, my home. The reason I do that is because that's where I ended up graduating from high school, and that was probably the longest amount of time I stayed in one place. My interest in the military is obviously because I was around it all the time. It was very difficult to actually give up my ID card when I got out of the active duty. I had never been without an ID card actually. So as a dependent and then as an active duty soldier. So I was drawn to it because of the opportunities. I had started in college at University of New Hampshire, did not do well as a student. I wasn't very disciplined, unfortunately. I was disciplined in high school, but college was a little bit more difficult, a transition for me as an 18, 19-year-old. And so I decided I'm going to join the military and then see where that would take me. The fortunate piece of it is my dad really encouraged me as an enlisted person who had the opportunity to choose pretty much any else I wanted to go ahead and pick a medical field, something I could actually use after I got out of the service, and that served me very well. So that's what drew me into the military, and I did one tour, one enlistment, and then right after for the Desert Storm, I actually ETS'd. I married in a Navy person and ended up in Washington State for a period of time.
Okay. Well, you earned a couple of degrees, including an MBA, correct?
Yes, I did. Yes.
And then you went to work for General Electric. There's your electric connection.
Yes, there you go. There you
And you
go.
were there for 18 years. So what got you interested in franchising? You mentioned your husband had a successful handyman home contracting business. Was that the connection? Was that why you're or is this something that you always just dreamed about, owning your own business?
Yes, owning my own business is something I definitely wanted to do. I think that the entrepreneurial spirit that I learned in GE, I had a lot of flexibility. They always encouraged creativity. I really enjoyed my time, and the people that I met in GE were some of the smartest people I've ever known. So I really appreciated that time. What I would say is that the franchising piece of it was really a function of technical expertise. Not being an electrician myself, I was like, gosh, I don't know if I would feel comfortable going into a field where safety is such an important piece of it. In order for us to really be successful, I would want some guidance. And when we connected with the Neighborly Group and the Mr. Electric franchise, it was the perfect opportunity. They were able to list their code of values, what they really believed in, the integrity of the organization, and how they really guide franchisees in the field that they want to be in, right? Guiding them on the marketing piece, the business pieces of it, as well as the technical pieces, the hiring, the firing, all of the above. So I was like, what better opportunity for us to really get into this and do it the right way with the guidance of a group like Neighborly and Mr. Electric.
Were there any concerns or fears that you had? I mean, obviously, buying a franchise is kind of a big deal. It's a big investment. What kind of concerns did you have about the possibility of buying a franchise?
Absolutely. So it's a big investment. The fortunate piece of it is because Neighborly is such a vet-friendly franchise organization, there was a discount on for vets, and so that's available for buying your territory. There's always the concern of failure, right? If I don't think that if you don't plan for, hey, what is my exit strategy? What is my plan B? What if this is what I want to try? But we know in the military, all the best laid plans you know, go to pot when the first shots are fired, right? You can plan to the cows come home, but essentially you've got to get in it and you've got to do it and try it. Right? So you can plan for your backup, but you've got to do it. So that's what I would say. If it's franchising is for you and you know that that's something you're interested in, you got to get your feet wet. Do your research, ask all the right questions, make sure you have a plan B, C, and D and your exit strategy, but then go for it. I would highly encourage anyone to explore this if it's something they're interested in doing. And then you need to do it with enthusiasm and positivity because I do believe that putting that out there is really helpful as well.
So, what kind of challenges did you face trying to get it off the ground once you took the plunge?
Yeah. So I think the biggest challenge I faced right out the bat was the licensure, right? Finding somebody who had that unlimited license, equivalent to what we would call a master electrician, somebody who would actually um, uh, offer their license to us as well as be an employee of ours, right? So there are different regulations per state based on what the electrical board for that state wants. In the state of North Carolina, you actually have to have your license holder be a full-time employee of yours, right? So finding somebody who was willing to do that and where they would fit in the organization and the cost structure, that was a little bit of a tricky thing. And then what I would say is we talked about a little bit in the very beginning, just the state of the trades right now, encouraging new and young electricians to go into the field, to explore the field. It is a wonderful field, and I think there's a bright future for anyone who's interested in doing it, but it's also encouraging them to really pursue it. So finding
Yeah,
good employees is a tough piece of it.
yeah. Well, you're up to seven now, so it seems to be working out for you.
Yeah. Yes.
It's been what, 2 years since you opened your doors
It'll
almost?
it'll be 2 years in November, and we started off from ground zero in Chapel Hill. And we've built it up. And then I had the opportunity to purchase another location. So I purchased the connecting geography to that
Okay,
location. And so we have two now.
very good. So, how would you characterize your success so far?
I would say that I've learned a lot. I'm open to learning more. We focused a lot on growth and expanding our growth. Getting the right people who are dedicated to our mission and our core values has been top of mind for me. Who really want to work in a small team that feels like a family. So, getting those people, interviewing those people, hiring and training them has been probably one of my biggest challenges. I think also, you know, there's a sales component to what we do, and training those folks who are very technically savvy into doing some of the sales pieces of it. It pushes them to their limits. It's probably not something that they have normally done. There's some of them that have done them, but most of them have not had any sales experience. So that's my biggest learning. If I had to do it over again, would I do things a few things differently? I probably would. But it's about continuous learning.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Well, I hope to have the majority of stake in the Raleigh-Durham area. I have some sister Mr. Electrics that are nearby me, and we work very well together. I'm very fortunate to have really great owners that I can bounce things off of, and we work very well together, and we agree on a lot of things, and there's a lot of synergies there. So one of the things I'm most grateful for is the fact that there is such a huge network of Mr. Electric owners, both locally as well as nationally, that are incredibly supportive. There's a support group that we can always bounce things off of. We can ask questions, as well as the corporate organization. But I do see myself growing and being having a stake in this area for the future.
What's your best piece of advice for a veteran who might be considering the franchise path?
Yeah, so definitely do your research, understand what your numbers are, make sure you feel comfortable with what that looks like, and then don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're not comfortable, there is no shame in asking for, please explain this to me. I would encourage everyone also to use the SBA. They have score coaches and mentors that can help you through the process. And there's also loans and financing available for you if that's something that you could possibly afford right away. There are plenty of opportunities, and I would just encourage you to explore them, but do your research and make sure it's a good fit for you.
It's great advice. Is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't talked about?
I think the one thing I would add is that what I would say is I think that our veteran population is an amazing population, and I'm so proud to be part of it. If we look at the success of veteran business owners, small business owners specifically, we do have a higher success rate there. So if it's something that you have looked at exploring for yourself, I would encourage you to do it. Take the plunge, because you have the discipline, you have the ability to learn, you have plenty of support and resources out there. And we encourage each other. We want each other to be successful. I do believe in the fact that our veterans can be a very, very dynamic and powerful force for good in our communities and for our nation. We've already proven that, and I think we can continue to do that service after the quote unquote active duty service.
Yeah, really well said. I think the stat is 1 in 7 business and franchise owners are veterans. So, um, proportionate to the population of veterans, there's a reason for that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. Lee, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time and sharing your story with our audience.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to meet you, Dan, and anything I can do to help, always please reach out.
Thank you. Appreciate that.